Hello, my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime gal. Ba 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 ba. That was Michigan J Frog. Everybody do the Michigan rag. Yeah. 5 years from now, they'll find something racist about Michigan Frog. Well, you see, bunch of fucking Nazis. All right, dear ass, I'm a 28-year-old man from a place who's currently made in a major metro in a place in the United States for my job. I work in radio as a producer, board operator. Do you still have those? Is that still a job? Ah, Tilly needs to hear the Paul Harvey show. What do you mean he's dead? Since I was a teenager, I've had a passion for broadcasting business and went to college specifically to land a job in this field like a complete millennial putz. I amazingly managed to do that while still in school, thanks to Lucky Break, where I got hired for a part-time weekend job that had me putting together radio programs together for boomers on the weekends while I finished up my degree. Hey, you know what, man? I am so happy for you. It rarely works that way, but it does happen. It's great. That's great. You got to go and you went to school. You got a job in it even before you graduated. I'm happy for you. So yes, you were a putz, but the gamble paid off. Once I graduated, I did the part-time thing for a while until I got a second Lucky Break and got hired to do it full-time on this major city at a major broadcasting company. I make decent money with good benefits. I'm still involved with something I actually enjoy. Every job sucks. I do deal with a lot of bullshit from overzealous HR people and stuck-up on-air talents, but I can genuinely say that I like my job. This is awesome, man. It's allowed me to become completely debt-free and stockpile about $10,000 in an emergency fund. However, I'm not stupid. I could tell that radio is in a declining business. Wait, you have thought about the viability, long-term feasibility of your career and your industry? But I thought once I got a job, everything was paid for forever. And I make the 6 figs, and then I get my master's degree. And then I go to the boyfriend store and I get a husband. And at 32.7, I have 3.1 kids. I go back and get a doctorate. You are actually looking forward? Would you like to be honorarily confirmed as a member of Gen X? Would you like to join our group? Because you're not millennial. You can't possibly be. I'm gonna say that most of the people that interact with the program that I produce are baby boomers and Gen Xers. Ah, dang it! Everyone who is my age that I've encountered who isn't also in this business could not give less of a shit about radio unless it's for a sports game while they're in the car. I'm basically creating content for people who are 20, 30, 40, and even 50 years older than me. These people will hopefully die before I do. And, well, okay, you don't want them to die. You want to die after they do because you're young. And that leaves me with the prospect that there's no longer going to be a market for what I do before I retire, since people my age won't care about terrestrial radio. I don't anticipate that happening in the near future, since people in their 50s could still be listening to AM radio for another 20 years. But I think it's coming eventually to an end. And I wanted someone's objective take on how to prepare for it. My first thought is that I need to eventually shift towards working on podcasts, since those have way more younger audience. I could feasibly work in those until I retire and die. Hopefully they'll have figured it out how to monetize those properly before radio dies as a viable business. No clue if I'm being realistic, but I have seen jobs hiring for podcast producers, so I know that they do exist. Take them part-time, man. Take them part-time, and you don't even have to physically be there. You got to learn things like Streamlabs, StreamYard, what's some of the other, the support stuff, like social media. What's the one? And I'm a hypocrite because I'm not on it. Rouster, something. It's a talk place for people to go and talk. Why can't I think of it? That's what you need to learn. I've seen. So if people are hiring for it, yeah, and I've seen it. Like if you listen to the Dick Show or what's his name, Joe Rogan, Donovan Sharp. He hires his girlfriend as his producer. And it's a skill, it's a talent. She's got the soundboard there and everything. I'm very impressed. Yeah, and so there's going to be a lot of overlap, especially if you could do video as well, because everything's now moving to YouTube, and then people will upload a podcast later. But if you could do the AV audio video equipment and the editing and know how to plug that in and run it live through YouTube or through this format or that online and bring on guests and get a call in there. It's something you could self-teach. There's no school for it. Heaven help us if there's a school for it, but you could, but that's the problem. You're going to have to move from the analog world of radio and move to the digital world. And the skill sets are probably going to be the same. It's just learning different programs like Streamlabs, like just knowing, okay, yeah, you record on YouTube first, the idea of Super Chats, set up a PayPal, even the back office operational stuff is stuff that will help you out. You know who you really should probably talk to is Blake, Terrence Pop's producer. And talk to him. You maybe email him and pay him a couple bucks. See if he can consult you on measures and steps to take. Because you can see with my fine setup here. I mean, I got that at Best Buy, and these are $15 earphones, man. That's pricey shit. I mean, I'm high tech here with my used ThinkPad laptop. But even though obviously I'm cheap on the equipment, I do have to know how to set all this stuff up, and it was all self-taught. Blake is a pro. And I would go talk to Blake, and I would pay him some money to see what he could teach you. But you're going to need to make that jump for analog to digital. And it's just doing, I mean, I think you doing your own podcast would be the most perfect way to learn that. Myron Gaines is another one. Myron Gaines and his producer, Fresh. Look at the video quality they do, the audio quality they do. It's almost as high quality as this. So if you find jobs for a podcast producer, do it. Failing that, I've also kept myself in shape and have read up on what it would take to join the Air Force, as they will be taking recruits up until the 40th birthday. That's sort of my nuclear option in case radio implodes within the next decade. I would prefer to do that rather than go back to school and take unneeded debt to learn a new trade. I'd say join the reserves or the National Guard if you can. Just so you got a foot in the door, man. Just do it part-time. You could do it. And then you can work in radio as long as you want. Then if it fails, then okay, you make the switch. But at least you join the military. As I said before, none of this is an immediate problem. My job right now is actually fairly well by my radio bosses. I can just see big problems on the horizon, and I don't want to be caught off guard when the shit hits the fan of this business. Dude, I remember all these baby boomer journalists whining and complaining. This was no more than 5-6 years ago. Maybe it was 10 because time flies. But they're like, this internet's taking our job. We need people to help us and bail us out. I even remember these two old farts making fun of blogs. What's a blog? And these were radio show hosts who were also journalists themselves. And guess what? They don't work for newspapers no more. But you are absolutely right. I mean, demand is at least going to go down. So you're going to be in a slowly sinking ship. And you do need to make that jump. Blah, 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 welcome feedback, how brutal it might be, blah, blah, blah. Then I asked you, well, have you developed your podcast producer skills? And do you have a voice for radio? You're completely right that radio will die, but not tomorrow. But the analog skills of radio aren't the same as digital audio, video editing, YouTubing, Streamlabs, StreamYard, monetization skills that podcasting is. Also, any chance you could consult some of these old boomers on how to both broadcast live and podcast the same. That's an idea you might want to consider. If you go and teach yourself how to podcast in your spare time, you run your own podcast. There's a show called Garage Logic, and how does the internet work? And they're on radio, big show, locally. And then they went online, and people are like, oh, because they got canceled on the radio. But then the studio graciously allowed them to keep broadcasting at their studio because the talent is very high. But the talent's very old. Oh, this internet, I don't know, the Twitter, what are the kids up to? Well, now I think it's the number 35 podcast. He's highly ranked because he's a good show. If you can get these old fart boomers to both broadcast on the radio, okay, and concurrently podcast, because you record the same, you could do it. And then you go consult other, or if you work at a big enough company, you can, there's this radio show, that radio show. You get them all online and you master that skill. So I say, 1, go podcast, start your own podcast, no matter what it is. Don't show your face though, use a different name. Get a feel for it so you know what the hell you're doing. I don't care if you talk about dachshunds. Talk about something. Talk about consistently. One podcast per week. Learn how to advertise and all that other stuff so you understand it. But above all else, the technology. How to get a podcast up, what kind of recording equipment you need, what platforms you use, what software you use, what YouTube channel you use. Get it all settled, squared away. Then once you know that, you can talk to Blake about this. Then you go to your boss. Say, look, radio's dying, right? I've been doing this podcast for 6 months now. I've got the hang of it. It's going to cost us this much. You know, a little laptop over here for a small capital investment. We could go online and get a huge audience online. And then if we ever have to shut down the radio, they still now have this podcast, this digital vehicle by which to operate from. By the way, which reaches everyone on the planet. 50,000 watts. We reached out 20 miles around the metro. Ooh, 10,000 people listen to us. And if you're that young guy who knows how to take a analog radio show, hello, Boomer, ragtime show, yay! What kind of pot do you not remember smoking at Woodstock? Did you know we had Woodstock? Yeah, okay, yeah, we got it, Boomers. You could take that crap show and put it on the internet. They'll be like, oh, he's a genius. How much money you want? But then you hold out. You say, look, if I do this, I want a cut. I want 10% to cut of the revenue that comes through the internet. Or some egregious, not egregious, a legit say, no, it's going to cost a lot of money for me to do this. And then you find out what that rate is and how much you need and blah, blah, blah. I think that's a brilliant business idea. To answer your question, my voice is fine. It's not A+ broadcasting voice. So I'm not going to be the second coming to Paul Harvey. But I know how to handle vocal fry, and I've been told by my bosses of a vested interest in not having garbage on the airwaves that it's okay for me to speak and do air, do the occasional news break or weather update. Okay, go. I don't care what your podcast is about. Just don't have it be controversial, okay? The Boobs and Beer Show with Bibbidi Bob. Go, do something fun, lighthearted. And you don't even have to enjoy it. This is just to get you experience. Then you go up to them. And then you have the skills in case the radio goes down. As far as podcast skills, I'm pretty good with Adobe Audition, and I've put together audio projects for both school and some clients that required editing, sound mixing, and other stuff. Okay, so you got audio, video editing down. I probably haven't done nearly enough of that work, but that's more thanks to the fact my current job doesn't ask for it at all. They're more interested in me running an audio board, screening calls, booking guests. Yeah, and that's fine. That's that. But you got to go run your own podcast, okay? Figure out how it works. Get this equipment up. Run it through YouTube. Learn how to convert YouTube to MP3. Where to upload on SoundCloud or Anchor FM or whatever. You do that for 6 months. Then you could go. You'll have a skill set that you could go and plug yourself in. Dude, you could save Boomer Radio. The man who saved Boomer Radio. Oh, we're on the internet. Did you know it's just like being on radio? Oh, Jim, what's a Boomer name? Hi, Frank. Frank, we're on the internet now. Oh my gosh, it's just the same. We could have done this 15 years ago, like the kids said, and we'd be dominant in power. Oh, I didn't understand. I'm just, let's talk about the episode on 60 Minutes. Is Eleanor Cliff still around? Oh, all right. Are we all caught up on the super chats? What do we got? Guy Savelli, $2. Thank you for the super sticker. All right. That's it. Oh, yeah. Michael Savage. A Boomer just did it. Wow. Welcome to the club there, Michael Savage. All right. Links to things down below. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.